Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to day 7 of Divine Order. My name is Resa Edwards. I am the Messiah. Welcome. Adults only, please. Let's get started. We have a lot to cover. Again, I'd like to remind you, okay, purchase BS Splitter. This is volume 0 of Divine Order. Purchase it at www.bssplitter.com. Or you can follow me on Twitter at BSSPLITTER, okay? The internet, Twitter is the only place where you're going to be able to see the predictions and the confirmations. Those are things I can't put in the book, like, newspaper articles and things like that, but I can put them on Twitter. So go to Twitter if you can't afford the book, but you must do both because I cannot get all of the information for each day in one video clip, okay? Now let's move and get started. We have a lot to cover, okay? We are in part 2 of Love Cultivation. This day 7, was transmitted August 14th, 2012. There were a couple of predictions on day 7. You must get on Twitter. I did not place them in our lesson today, okay? Now, today's lesson is about man and woman and the distinct difference between man and woman. Okay, the distinct difference between man and woman is more than physical characteristics. Unfortunately, in yesterday's world, man and woman is blurred. The lines that says, I am a man and this is my job or my task to contribute properly to God's future is blurred with a woman's line. And that's because of backward progression. So let's get into it, okay? Man is born needing to learn how to love. Man is born mostly God disconnected, okay? Instinct should bring any puny human closer to God. Unfortunately, in yesterday's world, man is mostly God disconnected, and he needs to learn how to get to God, okay? Fortunately, woman is still born God connected in yesterday's world, okay? So a woman, the average woman, is born knowing love. So God placed the responsibility of love on woman's shoulder. And it is the woman's job to teach men how to love. You run this planet. Men learn from women, okay? Because he is born to a woman, and a woman or mom, it's her job to teach her son how to love. Okay. Woman teaches man love, God's love, and man supports woman in God's love. Together, they raise God's future. Unfortunately, in yesterday's world, men, a man doesn't know love, so the average man in yesterday's world puts himself first. And this has been happening for the longest. As a matter of fact, we all know that women and children didn't even have laws to protect them until recently, okay? Comprehend the distinct difference between Satan's formula and God's formula, okay? Satan's formula puts man over woman over child, okay? A man will put himself over his woman. He will put himself over his child. Comprehend. Satan's formula has no number support. If man comes first, where does that leave God's future? So comprehend, we're getting into backward progression. This is a negative sign. This is the infinity sign. This is considered backward progression. We will move over here to God's formula. God's formula says put child first. How do we know that God puts child first? Well, divine order is in nature. Every insect and every animal you can think of puts their young before themselves. That's divine. That is a continuum concept of continuation that will lead to tomorrow. Okay, that will lead to more time. Child must come before woman, and woman must come before man. That means, man, you're last. Your only role is to contribute, to support God's future. We live in a man's world. Anybody you ask, anybody you speak to, they're going to tell you this is a man's world. There are songs. This is a man's world. This is a man's world. In yesterday's world. Okay? When you put a man first, you are going against God's formula. You will be contributing to chaos. The reason people kill, the reason people hate, the reason we have so much aggression, okay, is because of mental instability. People who are mentally stable control their behavior. People who are mentally unstable cannot control their behavior. Why do monsters kill? Monsters kill because they have an urge, and their urge comes from mental instability. We will get into mental instability in the future. Suffice it to say, uncontrolled emotion leads to mental breakdown. A man who has lost control is the largest threat next to natural disaster in yesterday's world. That is because of Satan's formula. So what I'm trying to get you to comprehend is that, woman, it's your fault that yesterday's world is so lost. God put love on your shoulder to teach man how to behave. If you don't teach your son how to behave, your son is going to grow up mentally unstable. Mentally unstable. And it doesn't matter how stable you or I believe he is. Comprehend, when you turn your back on God, you will walk right into Satan, and there you will stay. Okay? So what I want you to understand is that in tomorrow's world, child comes first. If child does not come first, you will only lead to chaos. You will never get to God's future. This is why we're in such a fucked up state right now. Comprehend, anyone believing this is a man's world is crazy as hell. You don't know God at all. If you're looking for God to be anywhere else besides numbers, if you are looking for God in an opinion that has no number support, you will never find God. You can't even see Satan. If you're looking for Satan to be a little red man with a 3-pronged staff running around hysterically pointing at people and sticking them, you're an idiot. You have no number comprehension. You live in yesterday's world. Comprehend, yesterday's world is not your destination. Tomorrow is your destination. So as long as this is a man's world, this world is going to be messed up. You just comprehend that. Man was never meant to lead. Ever. Not until he becomes God's future man. Okay? Join us tomorrow, where we will go into day 8. Day 8 of divine order starts digging into ground zero of mental instability and why we have monsters and why people kill. But right now you can see it yourself, just how backward it is to turn away from God. This is where you will always end up. Okay? I'm Resa Edwards. I am the Messiah.